And I'm doing this a little bit different than the oil painting that I did earlier because that makes it more interesting to vary it up a little bit. And when you're painting outside, when you're painting plein air, and that is actually the shadow that needs to come all the way down here like this and to be much darker than that. We don't want a hard edge there. And we don't want it to be a solid color, so we'll just lighten that up. And the rocks. And this as well. It's always good to get texture in your paintings. That looks better. And then we're going to have to come back in here and do some of the shadows on these blocks themselves. That needs to be smaller. It's too large to do that with. And you can see that most of my pencil lines have been covered up. So I do have to be cognizant of that. So we'll get in with a smaller brush to do that detail in a bit. Okay. I want to push this this back more. So we need to make it a little grayer. So if you're going to make a gray, actually I have Payne's Gray in my palette, so we'll just use that. I'm also going to put some green with it. That's a Pearline green, just to give it, that's too brown. Move over here. That is not Pearline green, I'm sorry. That is Green Appetite by Daniel Smith. So we're going to push those back, make it look like they're actually are trees on this mountain back here. And again, always modeling it so that it has a nicer look. Then we'll come over here because there are trees here as well. We're going to have to push this back a little bit more, make that a little grayer. This will be good, just to put the trees in here. We just have some trees going up in here like this, coming down there. Okay, I like that. Now this one that's real craggy back here. Actually, I'm going to change brushes. This brush is a bit large. Okay. I think we'll take our little, this is a little Raphael. It's also very, it holds a lot of water. It's a little imitation squirrel brush, but it will help us kind of get some texture in our mountain. There. And maybe over here, I think this one is supposed to, oh, that's the shadow. Okay, so we need to really darken. And I'm just mixing up some more of the Payne's Gray with a Chinese orange, since that's the closest thing to a burnt sienna I have. And actually that is Chinese orange. Oh, excuse me, I do have burnt sienna on here. There it is, right there. Okay, so I did have it on this palette. Okay, so we will kind of do that rock and that. And these are on the edge of the water, so they are rather smooth rocks, but we'll still give it some texture. And then there's our shadow again, which that arch's logo is showing up a bit more than I had hoped, but that's okay. All right, and I think we'll take this right to the end there, so there's no abrupt stop there. Okay, so now let's see if I can get in here with smaller. And you know, these blocks are never all one color. These stones, these old stones that are on these walkways. This is probably Europe, would be my bet. And we have to keep perspective in mind as well. So they should all kind of end up going this way a little bit. We'll drop some of those in here. And remember, these are sketches. This is just a loose sketch. So these we're not going for perfection here. We are just trying to get something put down here to record the let's lighten some of those up too. Let's lighten that up. We are going to have to go in here a bit. Thinking loosely. This is quinacridone gold that I'm going in with here. Just to vary it up a little bit. Probably what would look really good here would be some moss green on some of these, because moss is definitely always available when you're talking near the ocean. So I'm just dropping some loosely in here. That's I don't like how severe that is right there. So we'll carry that on across into some of these others. So that's too defined. Have to be careful. We don't want definition. You know, we want it to look old and craggy. As we go along here. I like that. Probably won't do too much more than that since this is just a sketch. I think maybe we'll make these a little bit darker over here. So we'll probably take a nice, you can make a nice dark with burnt sienna. So you can see that. And Payne's gray. See, that makes a very nice burnt umbery kind of dark. So I think we'll lay that in here like that. And then we'll just soften it back out here. Maybe put some in here. We got to put some of the bricks in here, or the stones. And I think we'll go over that again. Just make that a little darker. Give us a little more texture here. Okay. And I think that's just going to be our quick sketch of the day. So I think I will drop a little more detail. So I'll get one of my smaller brushes. How about this one? This is a imitation squirrel by Jerry's Artorama. It's a number 2. Let's go in with that. Oh, let's put some moss in between. I think that would look really nice. And we'll just kind of do some moss up in here a little bit so you get the impression that this is also stonework. up in here. So within your shadows, some detail will show up, just not a lot. That's probably even more than we need right there. I'm actually gonna go in and darken all of that back in there a little bit. Okay. I think I'll put a little moss on this, maybe right here. On that edge and on this edge, and here, just for some variation. This is what's fun about loose sketches. They're just that. They're loose sketches. So don't get overly worried about them. And we're going to call that done. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry you had to watch at an angle here. But hopefully that gives you some idea about plein air watercolor painting. It's very simple to do with watercolor. You really don't have to have an easel, but it's nice if you do. All you need is something to paint on, you know, some kind of paper, block of arches, or some kind of board, a watercolor board, a little bit of water, some brushes, and your paints, and you have it. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video,